Hey everybody, I'm Shane Ireland.
I'm Alan Britt.
I'm Steve Mobby.
And I'm Bo Parker.
This is Bo Parker, the Bo Parker.
I didn't know if I got to do that.
Yeah. So Bo is a longtime friend of all of us here at Smokingpipes and a prominent member of the pipe community. You might know him from his Instagram handle, Heretics Pipe Club. You may have seen him in some of the pipe shows. And he is Pipe and Tamper podcast. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He is also the director of roastery operations at Methodical Coffee in Travelers Rest, South Carolina.
Yep.
So we all love coffee. Pretty obvious there. We talk about it a lot. And Bo has been kind enough to join us here, give us a little bit of a what for about pairing coffees with pipe tobaccos, and has basically just generously supplied and enabled all of our coffee habits for the last many years.
Yeah. Greatly appreciated.
Greatly appreciated. Yeah,
my heart
absolutely.
rate thanks you.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite moments yesterday, Bo and the other Methodical crews, everyone else in the Methodical crew came and toured our facility yesterday. One of my favorite parts was when you guys walked by our customer service area, Ashley poked her head out and was like, "Are those the coffee guys?"
Yes, they are.
That's what we're known best for. Yeah.
Well, coming from the pipe guys, which we've heard quite a lot for a number of years, it kind of just has a way of happening. But yeah, you guys make excellent stuff. We've all been personally fans of it. We drink it in the office. A lot of us drink it personally at home. Have tried many of the coffees that y'all have produced in the last several years. And we thought it would be fun to sit down and talk with somebody who has a lot of expertise and a lot of experience, both with pipes and coffee, to kind of give us an idea of what you think about when you're pairing, how people may want to approach pairing, and kind of to shut down the idea that there are right and wrong answers to any of this, right? Because I think that's an important thing.
For sure.
I think whether you're talking about alcohol or coffee or any other kind of beverage that you might like to enjoy with a pipe or with a cigar, one of the things that I try to remind folks is that it's a matter of personal taste.
Oh, for sure.
There are no wrong answers, and you're probably not going to have a bad time. There's a reason that pipe in a cup of coffee or a cigar in a cup of coffee is such a ubiquitous thing, kind of like whiskey or whatever else. Perfect match. Yeah. You're probably not going to have a bad time no matter what you decide to do. Is that fair?
I think that's totally fair. Yeah, the idea of good, bad, tasty, best experience, Zen moment, everything's experiential. So, what you ate that morning, what you're having your coffee with, which tobacco you're smoking with, whatever, it's all playing a role. Your body's pH plays a role. There's a billion different factors, but at the end of the day, if you like it and you think it tastes good together,
it's a good pairing.
It's a good pairing. It works well. No, there's some science behind it that we can talk about, some tips and tricks. But at the end of the day, if it tastes good, it is good.
And I mean, half the fun is the experience of experimenting and going outside the box, trying different things. And this might not necessarily make sense on paper, but I got this coffee ready, I got this pipe going. Let's see how they are together.
Yeah. And something fun we all decided to do today was not necessarily focus on one pairing that we like, but we all picked something that we wanted to smoke and that we like to smoke with coffee.
Yeah.
What'd you go for today?
All right, so I picked Red Carpet, very classic C&D blend, very old blend, vapor. Pretty straightforward. It's citrus notes. It's got a nice plummy, like stewed fruit, kind of dark fruit thing going on. I love this blend. I've loved this blend for years. And in pairing, I always go one of two routes. I either go, all right, do these two things taste the same? Like, do both of these have matching notes so I can put them together? Or I like to go
contrasting.
Maybe I want to do this seesaw effect contrast where I go, all right, this tobacco has a really good dark fruit. This coffee has a really bright fruit. So I'm pairing it with Bombay Abore. It's a natural Ethiopian, which just means, so won't get too nerdy, but natural wash. There's all these coffee terms that a lot of people don't understand, and we'll get into those anytime y'all want to, but we don't have time for that. But it's a natural coffee, which just means that the beans are picked and they are laid out to dry in the sun with some of their natural juices and everything still on the seed that's inside the husk and all. So this coffee is it is very close to the old school Ethiopians that we in the coffee nerd world fell in love with 25 years ago. When the third wave movement was kind of starting and happening and digging into what coffee could be. It's really jammy. It's got a bright kind of a blueberry or raspberry kind of note to it. So with this tobacco that's like kind of orange and hay and a darker fruit forward, it's really nice to have this other brighter fruit to kind of play with each other. It's just a nice little fruit salad, if you will.
Man, a little summer fruit salad.
Yeah.
So just so you know, Bo, all of our jobs are just sitting around smoking pipes and drinking coffee. So we have as much time to dive into whatever.
Yeah.
You don't
have nothing else going on.
Yeah, we cleared our schedule for the day.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What about you, Steve? What are you smoking and drinking?
So I am also drinking the Bombay, the Ethiopian, and I am smoking 2026 Cornell and Deal Steamworks.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah, it's a really interesting combination with the two here because there's always kind of a natural sweetness to the Steamworks that I really like, and the kind of like citrusy, jammy notes to the coffee are really bringing that out, and also bringing out a little bit more in the coffee than I would normally taste. Like it's just a kind of a perfect pairing.
Yeah.
Very complementary, like you said, in sort of a contradictory way.
Yeah.
It really kind of highlights some of the more subtle notes on both sides.
Yeah, it's wild how you can read tasting notes on all the things. Like we're all in the business of helping people kind of understand what they're tasting. Not necessarily saying you better taste this, otherwise you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Like that's crazy. That's why like our bag says we taste, not you taste.
should
This
taste.
is what it is.
Exactly.
But it is amazing how you go, all right, these guys said jam, whatever that means, or it says raspberry or something. And then you look at the notes on the tobacco and go, this kind of says something that sounds like raspberry too. I've never tasted that in either one of these things. Then you put them together and go, oh, there it is. Like there's that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is my probably favorite pipe tobacco blend of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And sitting here pairing it with this coffee, I'm tasting things that I've never experienced.
That's awesome.
before, and
That's
it's
really
really
cool.
And
enhancing something.
you've smoked
quite a bit of
like pounds of
Yeah,
that.
I smoked probably as much Steamworks as anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
Not
never-
to flex or anything.
Yeah.
If you never
put
got
flex.
Steamworks, you can blame Steve. So yeah, I went with kind of a sleeper, Gwendolos in the Low Country portfolio. I prefer to smoke kind of stout blends with coffee for whatever reason. Normally Virginia-based blends. Innsmouth from Cornell and Deal, I was telling Bo, it's maybe my absolute favorite coffee pairing. Virginia-based blends with air-cured leaf that just add a lot of stoutness to it, a lot of richer notes that you wouldn't necessarily get in just a Virginia blend. Where Gwendolos, this has Virginia, some Virginia Cavendish, Perique, and then the addition of Catarini and Nicaraguan cigar leaf, which is pretty stout. And we are smoking this with Andres Cardona, which is maybe favorite.
I could say unequivocally it's my favorite.
And Andres Cardona, I think, for me, is super unique in the boozy quality that it has. It's also a natural process coffee, like Bo said, with Bombay Bore. But I feel like there's got to be some special process that goes through.
Yeah, so Andres is one of the young producers of Colombia. So one of our importers on Blended, we work with them a ton. They're really, really cool guys. They have this whole program that is like, hey, coffee is not going to survive if we don't, help raise the next generation and support the guys that are doing it. So they have this whole young producers program, which is really neat. So a lot of these guys are going to university and getting degrees in like biochemical engineering and stuff, and then going back to their family's farm and applying the stuff that they've learned. So Andres has some trade secrets that we don't know about. We have no clue really all the pieces of it. It is still a natural process, but it might be an anaerobic natural process. There might be a certain amount of hours that he lets it ferment on its own. There may be some, different ways that he pulls the oxygen out, or when he adds the CO2 back to the tank or whatever. And then in the world of coffee, there's a million other things and different versions of that where young folks are, kind of starting this fourth wave, as we're starting to call it, in the coffee world, of bringing out new things. You've got your co-ferments, and you've got your thermal shocks, and triple anaerobic processes where they're fermenting the husk that the coffee had on it separately, making this goop basically, and pouring it back into the beans and letting it ferment.
Like a concentrate.
Yeah. And so it's a pretty wild thing. So Andres has got some really cool stuff he's doing that no one knows about except Andres. But that coffee is insane, because in one sip you go, oh, that's weird. Yeah. And then by your second sip you go, that's a chocolate covered strawberry imperial stout that's been barrel aged or something.
It reminds me of
insane thing.
A barley wine. So if you've ever had like a barrel aged barley wine, that's immediately when you smell it, it's got that boozy, super dark fruit character that is not just on the nose, but it's also on the palate. And for me, that pairs extremely well with kind of a bold cigar leaf, or something like Casturi or Catarini. I just love that with my coffee.
So I'm also drinking the Andres Cardona, which is one of my personal favorites that y'all make. I know it really well. I've prepared it in a bunch of different ways, and
you've been nerding out. You've been going down the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Shame?
Well,
no. I don't know.
But it's something that I keep coming back to, because kind of no matter how I prepare it, how I brew it, whether it's a batch brew or a pour over or whatever, like it always gives me, it always elicits the same emotional response. So I find it comforting, and I could see how for some people it may not be an everyday daily driver kind of a thing, but for me and my tastes, which I lean towards the fermented, you know what I mean? Like, I love all things.
I embrace fermentation.
When I'm drinking aged tea, cheeses, wine, tobaccos, like all that kind of stuff. I love those sort of like darker, muskier, heavier, not necessarily heavy in terms of stoutness, although I do think that there's a good amount of body to a cup of this coffee.
Yeah.
It's the darker side of the flavor spectrum, the dark fruits, that funk, like for me as a fan of Perique, I feel like this coffee kind of scratches that itch a little bit.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about it is I went a little bit different in my tobacco choice than these guys. And one of the reasons is because I wanted to smoke and drink something that is like a typical pairing for me on an average day. So without the like flex of it a little bit, I'm smoking a 15-year-old dark Virginia, just a straight
Not
Virginia.
Flexing at all.
No average.
No flex.
Just a Wednesday morning. But this is actually Astley's 44 from about 15 years ago. So it's just a straight dark Virginia, plenty of time in the tin. It's what I've been smoking through recently in my spare time. And the thing about it that's funny is pairing it with this coffee almost turns it into a Virginia Perique. It almost gives me that extra little bit of the dark fruit, that extra little bit of funk. It does elevate the sweetness that I taste in this tobacco, because I wouldn't classify this tobacco as an overly sweet one, even in its age, in its maturity. It does have a little bit more of that malty character, a little bit more of that tangy vibe. And on the finish of this cup, I get some of that tang too. Like, it's funny how, we talk about like tasting wheels and flavor profiles, and so much of this stuff translates from coffee to wine to tobacco, back and forth. It's like the sort of parts of the flavor spectrum that have to do with like the barrel quality. You know, when you're talking about spirits, and it's like that's your vanilla and your chocolate and your woodiness and your charred, you know, charred woods, charred oak. It's funny how like that boozy quality and that's inherent in the Andres Cardona, when I pair it with a Virginia that has a medium amount of sweetness and a good amount of age and fermentation on its own, I get more of that. Like almost like one of these two things was barrel aged, you know. And you mentioned it like barrel aged stout or a barrel aged barley wine. Like I would say that this pairing that I'm enjoying right now is sort of amplifying similar characteristics of both of these two things. So I would say that yes, it's the coffee brings out almost a Perique-like note in what is otherwise a straight Virginia. But other than that, I am doing complementary flavors here. Like these are complementary flavors where it's just sort of elevating the main characteristics of both of these two things. And yeah, that's what I like. I find it comforting. Some people might find these flavors to be a little more on the complex side, a little more on the challenging side. But I think that if you like that sort of a vibe, that fermented kind of a character, age some Virginias, just be patient and drink some of this incredibly well processed natural Colombian coffee.
Spend 15 years just drinking the coffee, and then when the Virginia's ready, pair it and see how it changes.
In 2041, give us a call.
We'll get you. That's too quick of math.
It's not my fault you haven't been aging your Virginias already. We've been saying this. We should have been.
This isn't new.
This is not new. Yeah.
So, Bo, you mentioned, you were talking about the history here. You mentioned the third wave of coffee and kind of alluded at an emerging fourth wave.
Yeah.
For those of us who don't know, can you give a quick rundown on what that is and maybe how methodical fits into that emerging wave?
So the whole world of like a quick rundown of the waves thing is coffee was in America. People were getting coffee here, especially as people figured out what coffee was. It grew in popularity. Then I'm probably going to butcher these numbers. I want to say it was late 70s, early 80s. There was what they called the second wave of coffee, where people were building brick and mortar shops for the purpose of having coffee, not for the purpose of serving coffee with your bagel. It was no, we're going to open a shop for coffee. That's where Starbucks came from. That's where a lot of the world of coffee in America is really. I have a job today because of those guys, because of that kind of mindset of going, let's make coffee a thing. Let's very similar to the world of like, no, let's make cigars a thing. Let's open a cigar shop and make it a shop for cigars. So then that was kind of coffee for 30 years or so there, where it was very much you get beans here and you roast them and dark as you can, get it nice and bold and dark and roasty and smoky. And then make milk drinks with it, make espresso, and teach people that you can put sugar syrups and stuff in there and make really cool stuff. Then there was this move of guys who were like, if we roasted it lighter, and if we really focused on the farms and focused on sourcing and focused on supporting farmers and making sure that like our focus is taking care of everybody through the supply chain and helping people have living wages, we know that we'll get a better product, even though it's going to be very, very, very small. And so that was where the third wave movement was kind of born out of, was equal parts quality, very high quality product, but also really taking care of people and like helping people across the entire supply chain.
Sustainability.
Yeah. And so that was where third wave came from. That Methodical's 11 years old now. And Will, one of our three founders, was just that guy who was kind of there on that front line and was learning about it and was a part of that. Marco and David both as well. Like Will kind of pulled them in with him and we're like, let's go. And so it was really cool, and Methodical's always wanted to be a part of that. We are a specialty coffee roaster, which means that any beans we put out have to be rated 80 points or higher on the like 0 to 100 scale of rating coffee. So all of our coffee has to meet, those requirements. But then also there are coffees and folks out there who aren't doing it right. There are farmers who aren't doing it right. There's producers who aren't doing it right. There's roasters who aren't doing it right, as is the case with any industry. So we really do care a lot about making sure we're working with the right folks and working with the right thing. Specialty coffee should be about that. It should be about taking care of folks and stuff. And so we've got a couple farmers that we buy their entire lot. Austin, our green coffee buyer, he goes down to Columbia once or twice a year, meets with farmers and like has really good relationships with them. And so it's a really, really cool thing. So when I say fourth wave, there's the experimentation and the growth and the science behind what's going on in coffee has just blown up. Like it's gotten so crazy. And so it very much feels like, all right, we're moving out of just specialty, not evolving and not doing better or worse or more, but different. Like there's just so many more avenues. And so, there are folks who are the co-ferment world is just crazy. Like it's just a crazy world, which is just basically we're doing everything the same with this coffee as far as letting it ferment, but we're throwing in pounds and pounds and pounds of strawberries so that that just gets eaten up in the mix and it just imbues the beans with this crazy stuff. So it's just that kind of world of like it's just this next phase and it's this next wave of experimentation and learning and growing, and it's really cool. It's being done well. There are people who are really.
There's clearly a market for it.
There's clearly a market.
People are clearly interested in trying new and different things and having their minds blown. What they thought was possible out of just a roasted coffee bean.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like every year we do our Feels Like Summer, which is just a summer blend that we do, but we introduce a co-ferment into it every year. A couple years ago it was a coconut lemonade. Last year was watermelon. This year's is peach, which if I have my way, it's gonna be peach forever. We grow peaches in South Carolina. It makes sense. It's not the peaches that are in the coffee, but it makes sense.
But the peach one too is just there's something about it that works on so many levels. We were just talking about like some of us have only been drinking it ice, some of us have been drinking regular pour over with it, and it works on so many levels.
Or even if you go super crazy, I think it was late last year with the green apple co-ferment. It's a fun world. And I think for a lot of, if you're smoking a pipe and if you're one of these people who dives into blends and components and actually care about what you're smoking, I think you're somebody who naturally would care about what you're drinking for your first cup of coffee in the morning.
For sure.
And getting the best experience that you can, not just whatever's readily available. We had the pleasure of touring your guys' facilities recently, and we were smelling all those co-ferments, and there's stuff that when you say what it is, I'm like, why would you put that in coffee? And then I smell it and I'm, that's why you put it in coffee, because that's incredible.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Also that we talked about, sorry to interrupt. The how analogous the like processing of these, because coffee is a natural material, tobacco is a natural material, and what can you do? You can cook them. Like there's heat, there's pressure, there's co-fermenting, there's letting it age, there's letting it the anaerobic fermentation and blah, blah 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 blah. Like there's so many parallels in the way that you guys process what you're doing and the way that, like, for example, Jeremy processes his tobaccos. Yes, we're all tasting and enjoying these things the same way too. With a lot of intentionality and a lot of curiosity and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of makes sense that they go so well together. Like, from an experience standpoint and like also a flavor and taste standpoint.
Yeah, it's wild how much y'all coming to our warehouse, y'all were like digging into the green coffee beans and like smelling all the things and tasting as much as you could, and like it was energizing for me to get to see you guys because I'm there every day. Like I see it all the time. And so it's like, I'm super excited to get to see y'all be excited. So then when we came to y'all's place, it was the script was just flipped because we just all started nerding out and freaking out and smelling as many things as we could and all. But I think there's so many processes that are the same and so many pieces of it that are the same that it makes the product really just work really well together.
Yeah.
And again, it's, you know, Jeremy and that team, their intentionality of getting the right stuff from the right people and celebrating the tobacco is a big reason that I love those guys. But it's also why I think our coffee works really well with it, is because it's we don't want to add anything that's not going to celebrate that coffee, or we don't want to roast it in a way that doesn't celebrate that farm or that terroir or that nation that it came from. And so it's a really cool thing to go, man, this doesn't have anything on it. This is just tobacco and it tastes that good. Yep. And this is coffee that doesn't have anything done to it other than just heating it up a little bit.
It's natural process, same thing.
And
absolutely.
not just that good, but that unique and
Yes.
It has its own special thing for sure. And I mean, I think of coffee choices and tobacco choices very similar. Like if you're an aromatic smoker, that's okay. Like it's cool to be an aromatic. Like enjoy your aromatic smokes. Go find a coffee that works really well for that, or add milk and sugar to your coffee. You know, make the make the drink you like that goes well with the tobacco you like. If you're a, you know, dark roast, like you really like the dark stuff, you really like it smoky and all, you're probably going to like English blends too. It just goes really well together, and it's not bad. It might not be your preference.
Sure.
I don't drink a ton of like dark roasted coffees. I enjoy some. Like there's some that work for me, but I'm such a
Sometimes nothing. Like sometimes it hits. You know, sometimes it's just a classic. You know.
Well, if you're a Waffle House eating syrup on pancakes,
Feels like home.
and hash browns with ketchup, you don't want a boozy, fruity strawberry, because that's just going to annoy you at that point. You want that dark, roasted coffee that just tastes like the bottom of the bowl.
Yeah, it's like you said, so much of it is based on experience. What did you eat that day? What are you eating right now? What mood are you in? Like different.
What are you
things
craving?
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you looking for? So real quick, when we were talking about pairing and saying like there's no wrong answers and that, you know, what you enjoy is what you enjoy, and like, you know, approach it with an open mind and just try stuff, and you're probably going to have a good time no matter what you do. You said that there was some science.
Oh yeah.
Lay it on us. What's some of the science?
All right. So one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle is dirt, just like tobacco. You know, dirt is a huge piece of it. So coffee only grows in certain areas. You got to have the right elevation. You've got to have the right rain shadow. Like, you know, or similar to growing grapes for wine. Like you've got to have the right terroir. You've got to have the right conditions to get coffee to grow right. But within that, there's kind of that window of like, all right, as long as we get to this point, it's gonna grow. But if we manipulate this side of the mountain or that side of the hill gets a little bit more sun. One of the farmers that we work with that we buy his entire lot is a guy in Honduras. His name's Walter Bautista. His coffee, I know you love his coffee. His coffee is fantastic. It has this really unique character to it. But this past year, we've worked with all these guys for a while. We've worked with Walter forever, it feels like. And so we reached out to Walter and we're like, can you do it natural? It'll be easier for you, and we just really want to see what your coffee's going to come out like natural. Well, it rained every day in Honduras for like 100 days or something. So it's really hard to do like sun-dried natural beans when they're just soaking wet constantly. So there's all those factors too. There's all the things that happen, not just the dirt, but the dirt's a big pH piece. The elevation's a big piece. The rainfall, the extra rainfall, like all of that leads to what you're going to get out of the cup. So we really are the last step. We're way downstream from all of it, but on our end, we will take the coffee, cup it, which is just a process where we're tasting the coffee in small amounts. You know, it's kind of like when tobacco blenders are trying to figure out the blend, that they will just roll up that one component and smoke it as like a quick cigarette and go, okay, that's what that is. All right, next. Like we're spooning coffee, and y'all got to do that when y'all were with us.
Crazy experience.
It's a really wild, and it's really off-putting the first time because we're all slurping a lot.
Yeah, a lot of slurping.
It sounds disgusting,
No, you got to slurp that aeration on the palate. Really,
you got to cut your whole tongue. But so we will take that coffee and we will go through kind of the steps of, all right, what should we taste? What do we think we should taste? All right, we're going to roast this at 405 degrees with a 17% development that we hope is going to be about a 2-minute development, total roast time of like 10 and a half minutes. We get that coffee out, we taste it and go, yep, the blueberry's gone. Like, we've got the jamming, we've got the milk chocolate, we've got the citrus, we've got the whatever, but we're going after blueberry. So then we're going to go, all right, that's a sweet note. We're going to charge it way more on the front end of the temperature time. So your drop temperature is, you shoot it up real fast and then you want to work it back down and get into all the science and nerdy stuff with that. But that last bit, so there's first crack, which is when you're roasting coffee, there's this moment where the bean kind of, and if it's a quiet room and you've not got a lot going on, which is no coffee roasters have that. They're the noisiest places on earth. Y'all heard how noisy it was. But you can literally hear the bean pop. And so from then until you end the roast, it's this little window of development time, and there's a percentage of like what that bean is going through. That's where we really nerd out and dig in to find what we can get out of each one. And so there's that piece of it, but then like I said, there's even the science behind why it pairs well. But because we go, all right, this is a Guatemalan coffee and I'm gonna smoke this Guatemalan cigar, they're gonna go better together because they came from the same place. It's like you can get a Philly cheesesteak in South Carolina, but it don't taste like Philly. You gotta be in Philly, and part of that is
the water in New York and the pizza dough.
Absolutely. Like you get these vegetable, green produce products from another country that are two different things, but they're both grown there. Yeah, there's just some magic that happens. And when I say science, I say that word is synonymous with magic or mystery. I don't know all of this stuff. I think electricity's magic. If I can flip a switch and lights come on, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
So when these coffee producers
magnets, how do they work?
I just see Bo, like somebody showing up and he's like, I'm something of a scientist myself.
The coffee producers, like some of those guys will get to like come and hang out with us, and we'll hang out at like conventions and stuff, and they'll start telling me all the things. I'm like, yeah, and I can repeat it back to them, and I know all of that stuff. But then there's kind of this moment where I go, it's hoodoo, right? Right. Like you've got to, you're not telling me the whole thing, and I don't want you to. Like I don't ever want to go to Disney World and Mickey Mouse take his head off and find out that it's just Fred that works over across this. Like I want to keep
suspend disbelief.
Disbelief.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, lastly, before we sign off here, is there any advice from a I was going to say a technical standpoint, or like when you're approaching any kind of a pairing, especially when you're talking about pipes and coffee, like, is there any advice you can give somebody in terms of like approach it this way, or mechanically, actually execute it this way? Like, is it just as simple as lighting and drinking? Do you have a process that you go through? Is it important to taste the coffee first or the tobacco first? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of two roads on the tasting part, where you can do the old school way of going, all right, this says blueberries, milk chocolate, and citrus. So I'm going to get some actual blueberries, and I'm going to eat a few of those and then sip this coffee and go, did that just mute the taste so that I don't taste the blueberries, or did that bring it out?
Yeah.
I think that's, one route you can go for the tasting part of it. But then I think the other route you go is you just smoke the pipe, you just drink the coffee, and then bring them together. I don't think it really matters which one you do first. That's a personal preference thing of like, all right, I really want to have my pipe and then introduce coffee, or I just need to drink my coffee and then I'll reintroduce the pipe. I don't think there's any direction wrong with that. You could go either way. But as far as like the preparation, oh man, like you're talking
that's a complicated.
So many things because I'm a folding stuff guy. Like if I'm taking a flake, I'm gonna fold it, I'm gonna stick it in my pipe, I'm gonna relight it 500 times. But man, I just love what I get, and I also have giant hands, so it's easier for me to manipulate.
Which is also hoodoo to me because I've never been able to fold stuff.
But like, I will also take that flake and I'll rub it completely out, and I'll even do somewhere in between with a broken piece of it, and I'll just to see. All right, when I rubbed that tobacco out, it gave me this, but man, when I folded stuff, it gave me that.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same with coffee. We talk about grind size and we talk about preparation and all. First things first, there's no wrong way to make coffee. If you have a Mr. Coffee pot and pre-ground coffee at your house and you really enjoy it,
that's right.
That's
do
beautiful.
Your thing, beautiful.
Absolutely.
You're living a simpler life than I am.
Right.
And I envy that.
But you can go all the way down the rabbit hole, as many of us have now. I think right now on my personal coffee bar at home, I have 8 different manual drippers, and there are probably 6 of those that I need to just hand off to somebody else now because I've gone through all of them and gone, that one gives me this and that one gives me that, but this one gives me those 2 things. And so you can't go all the way down the road of like, water temperatures is a huge thing when brewing coffee. Grind size is a huge thing. How much time the coffee is interacting with the water, how much you're leaving on the bed, how quickly, if you're doing like a pour over, and really taking the time to go through the cycle. Man, there's some really cool stuff you can find with doing dry bed. So you do your bloom and you let it dry. Like forget the timer. It might be an 8-minute brew on that coffee, which is absurd in the coffee nerd world. Yeah. But man, I'm telling you, there's some fun stuff in there. I've been brewing coffee at home at 188 degrees. It's not
which
boiling.
Is pretty low.
Yeah, it's very low. But it's yielding all of these really light bodies and bright flavors. And so it just depends on what you're going for. Like if you want coffee that the spoon can stand up in, just add more. Just keep throwing, just pour coffee until the basket won't hold anymore.
I've recently dived into the world of like water minerality and making your
you're
own
going
water.
Way down. Like you're gone. Like there's no hope for you.
It's hard to believe that Alan would get
right.
Once you get into like getting distilled water and crafting your own minerality, but you can get as crazy with it as you want to.
Yeah. Well, and again, there's not a wrong answer. I think there are more right answers. I think there are,
writer.
There's a
you can be writer.
There's the best yes, that kind of world. But again, I have dear friends of the industry who swear like no. You cannot brew coffee that way and make it good. Decaf's a big thing right now.
Yeah,
that's the other piece of the puzzle is that decaf coffee was disgusting and lesser and not right for years and years and years. That was the mindset. My favorite coffee on our menu right now is a low calf.
That's great
coffee.
That's great.
Or even didn't you guys sold the when James Hoffman did the decaf project?
Yeah, we did the decaf project with him, which was a really cool.
Yeah, which is an insane collaboration for anybody out there who is a coffee nerd. James Hoffman is kind of the godfather of coffee content.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
There's
He's the reason I have spent a lot of money.
But yeah, you guys worked with him on a decaf project. His mission was finding the best decaf coffee on the planet.
And like the decaffeination processes. There's 3 different ways you make coffee decaffeinated, and so to say something like, well, Latakia is just not good. Latakia is not good.
No, you just haven't tried enough.
To say decaf's not good, it's such a silly closed mindset. Like you got to be open to, and you got to be good with failing. Like if you're gonna go down the path of coffee or pipe tobacco, you got to be good with going. I've had 8 bad bowls and 6 bad pots of coffee. But by God, this next one's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
keep.
right.
I'm gonna keep
It's
at it.
gonna
yeah.
be right.
Actually, that brings me to one last little piece of advice, and this is like my personal experience. And I've said the same thing about tobaccos. Like, you never want to try a tobacco, smoke one bowl, and be like, I don't like this. I mean, I get that sometimes that happens. There are polarizing blends out there. There's stuff that just might not work for you. But what I would say is that you open that tin of red carpet. You don't really know what you think of it until you've smoked half of that tin.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Different
Different
pipes,
pints,
different
yeah,
days,
yeah.
different times, and the same thing with the pairing. Like, the good thing about a tin of tobacco or a bag of coffee, it's like, okay, cool. I have to consume all of this, right?
Yeah.
My advice is, if you're experimenting with a pairing, have it a couple days in a row. You know what I mean? Smoke the same pipe if you can.
Yeah.
Keep it consistent as possible. You're still going to have a different experience every time you
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah,
So try not to get discouraged, or try not to say, oh, maybe that didn't really do anything for me. Really give it a shot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Give it a real shot. Do it a couple days in a row. Don't give up on it. Your mood, your experience, how your day's gone, how you're packing the pipe, how you're preparing the coffee,
What you're
all of
pairing
those-
it with.
all of those factors are going to change, even if you keep the blend and the coffee the same a couple days in a row. So I think that's the most interesting part about tasting stuff, is that your initial impressions can be misleading.
Oh, for sure.
They can be amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're chasing that same amazing experience, and you may not get back to it. But don't get discouraged. Like I said in the beginning, there's no right and wrong when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I think the only disservice that you will do yourself is if you write off something too quickly without giving it a fair shake.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to dial in.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to dial in whatever you're going to enjoy. Like, you didn't grill a perfect steak the first time you went out to grill a steak.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't happen.
And if you did, you got lucky.
Yeah.
And try to do it again the same
probably-
way, you're going to be
yeah.
like, what happened? What am
Yeah,
I
if
missing here?
you did, you should never grill a steak again.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
you're
Went
just,
on a high note.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm also of the mindset that there's some things in life that even a not great cup of coffee, it's pretty good.
It's still good. Yeah.
What's the old the worst day of fishing is still better than the best day at work?
That's it.
Like, yeah, a decent cup of coffee is still better than no
Even
coffee.
bad pizza is still pretty good.
That's
And at the end of the day, if you like what you're pairing, I love it.
Yeah,
That's what matters.
Whatever
Yeah,
makes you
absolutely,
happy.
absolutely. Bo, thank you so much for joining us.
Dude, of
man.
course. Thank y'all for
Thanks
having
for the
me.
great coffee. This was a really
Yeah.
enlightening conversation.
Yeah.
See you guys next time.